Each of these 3 blocks weighs 900 tons. 900 tons. What's this about? This is called the trilithon.
In the ancient city of Baalbek, Lebanon, stand stones that should not exist. Most blocks weigh hundreds of tons, but some tipping the scale at 1,200 all the way up to 1,500 tons. To put that in perspective, that's more than a fully loaded Airbus A380 jetliner carved out of limestone and lifted into place without cranes, hydraulics, or steel. And yet there they are, stacked on top of each other 20 feet off the ground, aligned so tightly you couldn't slide the edge of a credit card. The sheer scale is staggering. The largest stones in Egypt's pyramids weigh around 80 tons. The heaviest transported stones in the modern era top out around 340 tons. Baalbek laughs at those numbers. It's not just bigger, it's in a league of its own. But here's the real puzzle. The Romans who built temples on top of this platform said absolutely nothing about it. And that silence is deafening. These are the same engineers who left us meticulous notes about aqueducts, bridges, and arenas. They loved to brag about their triumphs. Yet when it comes to the trilithon, 3 blocks each weighing about 800 tons, and the foundation stones beneath them, not a word. No records, no inscriptions, no explanation. It's almost as if the Romans themselves stumbled upon something ancient, something alien to their own tradition of engineering, and decided to build on top of it rather than claim it. Imagine walking into a cathedral and finding it balanced on a foundation of concrete poured long before anyone knew how to mix it. That's Baalbek, a temple on a mystery. So who laid the first stones? Why use blocks so massive when smaller ones would have been easier? And what knowledge did they possess that seems to defy our understanding even today? These are the questions that make Baalbek more than a ruin. It is a riddle in stone, one that has haunted historians, engineers, and dreamers for centuries. If the trilithon stones at Baalbek weren't already enough to bend the limits of possibility, the real jaw-dropper lies just half a mile away, in the ancient quarry. Here, carved directly out of the bedrock, sit blocks so massive they make the trilithon look modest. The most famous of these is the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, a monolith weighing close to 1,000 tons. According to local folklore, a woman tricked villagers into feeding her during her pregnancy by claiming she alone knew the secret to moving the giant stone. Touching it, people believed, could even increase fertility. But as astonishing as it is, this block is not the largest. In the 1990s, archaeologists discovered another giant, the Stone of the South, weighing around 1,200 tons. And in 2014, researchers uncovered something even more unbelievable. The Forgotten Stone, measuring more than 19 meters long and weighing an estimated 1,500 tons. That's the equivalent of more than 200 African elephants in a single block of limestone. What makes this even stranger is that all 3 were abandoned mid-quarry. The chiseling marks are still visible, like fingerprints frozen in stone, suggesting the builders intended to move them, but never did. Why? Were they too heavy, even for the techniques that managed the trilithon? Did a change in rulers, war, or natural disaster halt the work? Or were these stones test runs for a construction project so ambitious it was never completed? Modern engineers struggled to make sense of it. Moving an 800-ton block across flat ground is already a logistical nightmare. Lifting a stone twice that weight, 20 feet into the air, borders on impossible with anything short of industrial cranes. Yet someone, thousands of years ago, was confident enough to cut not 1 but 3 of these giants from the earth. The abandoned monoliths in Baalbek's quarry aren't just remnants of unfinished work. They are evidence of intention, proof that whoever built this site had the ambition, knowledge, and organizational power to attempt the impossible. And if these were simply practice pieces, then what kind of project required stones of such magnitude? For centuries, people have stared at Baalbek's impossible stones and reached for explanations that match their scale. Local legends whisper of giants, cursed wanderers, and supernatural beings, stories as monumental as the blocks themselves. One tale says that Cain, cursed to roam the earth after killing Abel, built Baalbek as a refuge. Another claims Nimrod, the mighty king who defied heaven with the Tower of Babel, ordered giants to stack the stones as a show of power. Still others speak of the Nephilim, mysterious beings mentioned in ancient texts, who raised the Megaliths. before vanishing into myth. Then there's the most famous local legend of all, the pregnant jinn. According to the story, a supernatural being, or sometimes a pregnant woman blessed with magic, tricked villagers into providing her food by promising to reveal the secret of moving the massive blocks. It's why the largest abandoned stone is still called the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. As centuries passed, the legends only grew bolder. In the modern age, Baalbek became the perfect playground for the ancient alien hypothesis. Writers like Zechariah Sitchin and Graham Hancock suggested that only beings with technology far beyond human capability could have transported blocks weighing over 1,200 tons. They imagined spacecraft, lost advanced civilizations, or even the Mesopotamian gods known as the Anunnaki as the true architects of the site. It's easy to see why these theories thrive. Standing before stones heavier than skyscraper foundations, perfectly aligned without mortar, it feels natural to think of forces beyond ordinary humanity. Even skeptics admit that Baalbek pushes the boundaries of imagination, but here's the catch. Every legend, from giants to aliens, reveals something important. They show us that people throughout history, locals, conquerors, and even modern researchers have all struggled with the same unsettling question. How? How do you move a stone that outweighs entire modern locomotives? How do you lift it 20 feet in the air, align it with hairline precision, and then walk away without leaving a single record of the feat? The legends may not be literal, but they remind us of the awe this site has inspired for thousands of years. And they set the stage for a deeper puzzle. If not gods or aliens, then could ancient human engineering alone have been enough? If Baalbek wasn't built by giants or gods, then the only explanation left is human ingenuity. But could ancient builders really have achieved this with nothing more than ropes, wood, and muscle power? The Romans, who eventually built their temples, on the platform were masters of engineering. They designed aqueducts that carried water for miles, bridges that still stand today, and cranes far ahead of their time. Their heaviest lifting device, the polyspastos, used multiple pulleys and massive wooden frames to raise weights up to 6 tons. With tread wheels powered by men or animals, some argue they may have pushed that to around 50 tons. Impressive? Absolutely. But here's the problem. The trilithon stones at Baalbek each weigh around 800 tons. The forgotten stone in the quarry? Close to 1,600 tons. That's not just a little beyond Roman capacity. It's over 100 times heavier than what their best cranes could handle. So maybe they didn't lift the stones. Perhaps they dragged them. Experimental archaeologists have tried this approach. With smaller megaliths, using wooden rollers, sledges, and teams of men hauling ropes. But even with blocks weighing a fraction of Baalbek's, the results were disastrous. Stones slid off rollers, sledges snapped under the pressure, and moving them uphill proved nearly impossible. One estimate suggested it would take 40,000 workers to drag a block weighing over 1,000 tons. That's more people than lived in most ancient cities. There's another theory. Maybe the stones weren't transported at all. Perhaps they were quarried and shaped directly at the site. And indeed, the quarry is only about 800 meters away, a short distance by modern standards. But short doesn't mean simple. Even if the stones were rolled downhill, the challenge of raising them 20 feet and slotting them into place with millimeter accuracy still defies explanation. This is where Baalbek breaks our neat historical categories. The tools we know existed don't line up with the scale of the achievement. Either the builders had engineering methods that were never recorded, or we've underestimated just how far determination, coordination, and raw manpower can go, and that's what keeps Baalbek perched on the edge of possibility. Too advanced for the tools we know, too real to be dismissed as legend. For centuries, Baalbek was a blank canvas where myths flourished. But in the last 100 years, archaeologists have started peeling back the layers, and what they've uncovered is just as fascinating as the legends. The first serious excavations began in 1898, when Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany visited the site. His curiosity sparked digs that revealed something shocking. Baalbek wasn't just Roman. Beneath the grand temples lay evidence of Neolithic settlement, suggesting people were living here nearly 10,000 years ago. That's thousands of years before Rome ever dreamed of empire. Fast forward to 2004, when the Lebanese university teamed up with the German Archaeological Institute to study Baalbek's ancient quarry. They uncovered fragments of Persian pottery, some dating to the 6th–4th centuries BCE, marked with cuneiform writing. This discovery hinted that the Persians, famous for their grand palaces and organizational skill, may have worked the site long before the Romans. And yet, nothing in Persian records credits them with Baalbek's megaliths. The silence continues. Even more surprising are the architectural fingerprints linking Baalbek to Herodian builders in Jerusalem. Researchers found that the foundation, known as Podium Phi, which supports the massive columns still standing today, uses the same unique style as walls in Jerusalem: alternating headers and stretchers, drafted margins, and blocks averaging 3.6 feet in height. The similarities are so precise, it's hard to believe they're a coincidence. Each discovery pushes the origins of Baalbek further back in time and ties it to civilizations we never expected. From Neolithic villagers to Persian artisans, from Roman architects to Herodian masons, everyone left their fingerprints, yet none claimed the massive stones at the heart of the mystery. And that's the question that refuses to die. If all these civilizations touched Baalbek, who laid the first impossible foundation? After more than a century of excavation, mountains of research, and endless debate, Baalbek remains what it has always been, a riddle in stone. The facts are undeniable. The site has been occupied for over 11,000 years by Phoenicians, Persians, Romans, Christians, and Muslims, and yet none of them ever claimed the impossible foundation. Legends blamed giants. The faithful whispered of gods. Modern theorists pointed to aliens. Archaeologists showed us chisels, quarry marks, and careful planning. But even with all of this, the central question still hangs in the air. Why build with stones so enormous when smaller blocks would have worked just as well? That single question is what makes Baalbek unlike any other site on Earth. It's not just about moving rock. It's about ambition, imagination, and purpose. Whoever first raised these megaliths wasn't just building a platform. They were making a statement, a message in stone meant to last for eternity. And here's the haunting part. It worked. The stones are still here. The builders are gone, their names erased, their methods forgotten. But their work endures, daring us to guess, to theorize, to argue. It forces us to confront the possibility that our ancestors, who we so often underestimate, were capable of feats we still can't fully replicate. In the end, Baalbek is more than an archaeological site. It's a mirror. It reflects our greatest mysteries, our deepest doubts, and our unshakable fascination with the impossible. And maybe that's why it still captivates us, because it refuses to give us answers, only sharper questions. Some history is written in stone, so heavy, so perfect that it should not exist, yet it does. And that's why Baalbek will remain one of the greatest unsolved mysteries on Earth. If mysteries like this fascinate you, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Forgotten Depths, because the past still holds secrets waiting to be uncovered, and together we're going to find them.